Welcome back to Gothic Homemaking. I'm Aurelio Voltaire and I'm here to help you turn your mundane abode into a Gothic palace. Now, if you live in an old home or an old building in the big city, chances are you've got one of these running through a room or two, steam pipes. While they provide free heating for tenants here in New York City, they are very unsightly. And since they've typically been painted hundreds of times, they tend to have a texture that's absolutely ghastly. Anyway, I set out to see if I could find some spooky solutions to this problem. My first stop was Home Depot. There I found this pipe insulation. The prices are certainly affordable, but can they stand up to the heat of the pipe? I somehow doubt it. They also had lots of metal solutions for making or covering ducts. This reminds me of the time in high school when I covered my entire room in tinfoil to make it look like a spaceship. Let's not go down that rabbit hole again. On my way home, I stopped by a local deli where I saw this. Covering the pipe in tile is certainly an interesting solution. And at my local hardware store, they've done this. They covered the pipe in rope, which is a fairly common fix. But let's be honest, natural rope is probably not a good fit for a Gothic bathroom. But how about black? Unfortunately, this rope is synthetic, which I fear might melt or give off fumes when the pipe gets hot. So I picked up some theatrical cord instead. Now, I have to tell you that threading a couple hundred feet of rope around a pipe is really tedious and nearly impossible when you don't have much room. It becomes a tangled mess very quickly. Also, it's probably best to start from the bottom so that gravity doesn't work against you. But I couldn't for reasons you'll see in a bit. Ultimately, I decided it was best to do it in sections with shorter pieces of rope. 20 to 25 feet seemed ideal. Just wrap the rope around the pipe and tie a knot. Then simply wrap the rope around again. And here's the tedious part. You have to pull the entire length of rope through every single time. Be quiet or I'll tie you up again. Once you've pulled the whole length of rope through, make sure the new loop is flush to the loop before, and then do the whole thing again. We're going to speed this up or you guys will be as old as Orville Dedenbacher before this video's through. When I was finally at the end of my rope, if you will, I tied a knot. Then I cut another length and started wrapping, overlapping the new rope over the end of the previous length to hold it in place. In time, I'd covered most of the pipe. Now here's why I didn't start at the bottom. There's very little room between the toilet and the wall, which made it nearly impossible to wrap. Anyway, you probably don't want absorbent rope down there where there may be some splatter, so I just went part of the way down and made a knot. So that it doesn't unravel, I secured the knot with some annealed wire and then covered it with duct tape. I'll probably just paint the rest of the pipe black later. Now, most of my pipe looked like this, but the parts that overlapped were lumpy, which drove me crazy. I came up with a plan to hide those lumps. I cut a length of rope and folded it in half. Then I wrapped it once around the pipe and made a knot. Then I made another knot, and another knot, and another knot, and so on and so on. And in time, I had this lovely braided chain link motif. I wrapped the ends around the pipe a few times, and then I tied them off. Here's the result. This is an excellent way to add additional beauty and interest to a rope-wrapped steam pipe. I really love it. But there's more. Next, I went to the Etsy page of BirdysDesignGallery and I bought some of these silver-plated skull-shaped brass stampings. They come hollow, so first we need to fix that. I mixed up some plumber's epoxy and I filled the backs. And then I added a safety pin. And now I have a way to attach them to the pipe. And because they're so easy to put on and take off, you can switch out the motif anytime you want. Though I'm really loving this piratey look with the knots and the skulls. I would say that's a 300% improvement on the ugly steam pipe that I started with. Now I could have stopped there. But this wouldn't be the Gothic Homemaking show if I didn't take it further than it needed to go. Look at this cake my fiance designed for my birthday. I really loved those bats waving around on the ends of pipe cleaners, and I wondered if there wasn't a way to add that element to my design. So I also picked up some silver-plated bat-shaped brass stampings on that same Etsy page, and I'd have to fill those too. But what to use instead of pipe cleaners? It was back to Home Depot where I raided their wire section, and they certainly had a huge selection, but ultimately I found this. 16 gauge black annealed wire. Where has this been all my life? This is perfect for my project. Back at the lair, I mixed up the plumber's epoxy and I attached lengths of the annealed wire, and in time, I had a swarm of silver bats. Then I simply threaded them into place through the rope and arranged them much like you would a bouquet until I was happy with the composition. And now the bats have really left the bell tower. If you want a more classic Gothic look, you can take them outside and paint them black. And you'll end up with something like this. And there you have it. Now I don't expect you to use all of these ideas at once. But I hope I've at least given you a variety of ideas so that you can make one of the ugliest parts of your home not only just attractive, but quite possibly a conversation starter. Will you just shut up?